Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Count down to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll-free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And good morning. Welcome to today's broadcast of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house right along with me this hour. And Miss Jan will take your call at 888-CAR Clinic. That's 888-227-2546. Put you in the queue, and then I will put you on the air. Great weekend coming up, and, a lot of traffic next, the 27th of this month, Memorial Day. That's going to really be the traffic. I have some stats about that I find very interesting, and you will as well. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by Power Frame Grid Technology. Engineered with confidence, Power Frame Grid Technology is designed to minimize corrosion that leads to battery failure. Trust a battery with Power Frame Grid Technology for true strength. Start after start. Learn more at powerframe.com. Also, this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by General Tire. If your car or truck needs new tires, but you're just not sure which tire is best, check out the Tire Selector at generaltire.com. The Tire Selector allows you to search by vehicle or by tire size. It's really easy, it's fun, and you can learn a lot about your next set of tires, which should be general. How? Go to generaltire.com. Okay, 888-227-2546. Miss Jan will take your call, put you in the queue. When I come back, I'll put you on the air. Oh, by the way, the cool car. Here's how you're going to park your car on the 56th floor of your apartment building. I'll tell you all about it when I come back. What can open and close hundreds of times a day on your vehicle? Your vehicle's thermostat, which performs two critical jobs: accelerates engine warm-up and regulates engine operating temperature. With so much at stake, like engine wear, fuel efficiency, emissions, and cold weather drivability, choose the thermostat professional installers choose. Stant. Stant's Superstat is premium grade and features a heavier gauge stainless steel housing and larger heat motor for optimal temperature control. For more Superstat advantages, visit stant.com. That's stant.com. Folks, it's a great time to shop for tires. Starting Monday, May 15th and running through June 15th, General Tire is offering up to $70 on a prepaid Visa gift card when you purchase 4 qualifying tires. General Tire offers unbeatable technologies like replacement tire monitors, smart grip, and visual alignment monitors. And with new tires like the G-Max AS05, the selection's never been better. Find your next set of tires at generaltire.com. That's generaltire.com.
Your car and your life have a lot of moving parts, and your car's battery is what keeps it all going. Here's something to keep in mind. While all batteries may look the same on the outside, it's what's inside that matters. So be sure to choose a battery with Power Frame technology inside. It's stronger, more durable, and keeps you going longer. That means you can count on a battery with Power Frame to be there start after start. Here's another reason to feel good about choosing a battery with Power Frame inside. It's manufactured using the latest sustainable processes. You're moving fast, and you don't want anything to slow you down, especially an unreliable battery. So the next time you need to replace your car's battery, make sure you choose one with Power Frame technology inside. Look for Power Frame on the outside, and know there's true strength on the inside.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
P-Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, loaded, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow, now you're here. Your aroma helps me wake and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And good morning. Welcome to today's broadcast. Thanks for tuning in every Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern Time right here on your local AM and or FM radio station, and also live at watchbobbylive.com. So for all of those of you, I'll wave to the camera, that are in our chat room, I hope that you had a great week. And for everyone out there that has your car in the shop, or your car may be going to a shop soon, you'll need to understand a little more about what makes that car tick, or even more important, you need to understand how to communicate with your local service provider. Now, what does that mean? Well, just think about, if you will, and I've said this many times on the air, how do you communicate with your doctor? The questions that you ask, and how do you, I don't know if you put together a list of questions. I think the challenge with the doctor communication is that you really don't know what to ask. Well, I can tell you that's identically the problem that we have in the automotive service industry. The owners of automobiles that come into our service facility, which, by the way, for those of you who have never tuned into this program, I host this program for 26 years, right here from the center of the automotive universe, Bobby Likis Car Clinic. And also, I founded Bobby Likis Car Clinic Service Pre-Repair. And that is a full-service, bumper-to-bumper business in Pensacola, Florida. Our broadcast studios are inside that facility. The facility of our garage is 15,000 square feet. It doesn't look that big from the street because of the way it's designed. And yours truly designed the building, and we started that building and built the first 5,000 feet in 1975. And then we've and made it larger from over the years as we needs and as our business grew. And part of that growth was to include the studio. So we added the studio. But the bottom line is, so 50 or 60 hours a week, we have a full crew that services and maintains and repairs and pre-repairs, the prevention of repair, our customers' cars. So over my career, more than 225,000 automobiles have rolled through the doors of our service shop. So have we made mistakes? Oh, absolutely. But we have really saved a lot of people a lot of money. One of those services that has worked so well for our customers and our clients, and that you would be interested in if you're thinking about buying a used car, is called a PPI, or a pre-purchase vehicle inspection. So our PPI, it's simplistic to talk about, but it's not simplistic unless you've performed or have a procedure to go by. And I created the document, and it's 80-point inspection. Now, beware when someone tells you they've got a 29-point inspection or a 129-point inspection. Folks, I could create an 8,000-point inspection. In other words, let's say there's 30 bolts that hold a fender on. Okay, so you could put 30 points. Check bolt 1, check bolt 2, check bolt 3, scan. You can say that's not what this is all about. What I did was, in chronological order, started out with how did the car start? That's the first thing you do. Does it start well? Well, actually, before you start it, how does it crank? Does it go? Then that's the starter. So how it cranks is the first inclination of what the technician that's performing the pre-purchase inspection understands about that car. And that's the line item, say number 1. Well, number 1 would be the warning lights, because you turn the key on and all those lights light up. So that's number 1 on the list. You know, how does do the warning lights work? Then you start it. Does it crank? That means the battery's good. And how does it idle? And you put it in gear. How does it engagement in gear? So before the technician, and then you put it, then you ease out of the shop and drive it. So before the technician ever gets to the edge of our garage and into the street, he already knows how it cranks, how it idles, how it feels in gear, and if the brakes work or not. And then the first block, he knows if the steering is working. So by the time we do a simple around-the-block test and get up to speed, we know if it shakes, if it shimmies, if there's a universal joint. Now, we don't specifically take the car apart. You couldn't possibly do that because it would take too much time. But I can tell you, being master certified ASE technicians, you drive a car around the block, you get a feel of it, you put it on the rack, you look underneath at all the telltale signs of leaks or wannabe leaks, then you check the tires and you check for oil leaks, you check the color of the oil, the fluids. And then what is really neat about our pre-purchase inspection is there are 80 line items, and they're all in chronological order. Over on the side of that same document, and we use 90-pound paper, and so that our customers that come in for the PPI have a document to hold. That document belongs to them. Now, we make a copy and put it on their file in-house, but they get the actual document that the technician uses to perform the pre-purchase inspection on the car. And what's really neat, let's say a line item 41 was differential. So there are two marks next to each line item, either a yay or a nay, go or a no-go. And that way it takes some of the gray out of it. Now, if a car is sort of wet, ring around the collar, has moisture around the oil pan, that doesn't mean the oil pan is leaking unless there are drips and something's running down. Then you could put engine oil, and then you put a check mark on doesn't pass, and then maybe that's line item 40. So you go over to the comment section and you write 40 in the comments, and there's like 10 or 15 straight lines, blank straight lines. So the technician can number any line which corresponds with any of the 80 check points and then put a comment. And so at the end of this report, it's a work of art, really. It's really fantastic. But we take it a step further. We actually go through each line item that didn't pass with the potential buyer. Now remember, this is a pre-purchase vehicle inspection. This is the information you need to know before you write the check and pay for the car. Whether it's a 5,000 mile 2016 car or a 17 car with only 5,000 miles, and you're going to buy the car used, it still needs to be inspected. There's just, for the money invested, really, it's a no-brainer. And our charge is $90. It's been that way for 15 years. In all candor, it's a $250 service. There are companies that charge more than that. In fact, we had a customer who bought a Maserati, and he had it tested in Texas. He was online. He was volleying back and forth. Do I really want to buy this car? And I said, well, could I get a report? And he came to me and asked for my help. I said, well, can I get a report of the pre-purchase inspection? You're going to have a pre-purchase inspection. And he did. And the shop in Texas charged him $750 for the pre-purchase inspection of this vehicle. That's right. And I got a report. And I will tell you, not to slam another shop because that's not my style, but I will tell you it was ridiculous. There were some pictures, which the pictures told more than the paper, because the paper was a handwritten scribble that you could barely read report on what the car needed. And it wasn't in any order whatsoever. It was just at random. So the bottom line, the front tires were, I could tell, were worn out. The lower underpinnings of the car had a lot of scrape where it had hit low curbs and those parking blocks. And let's see what else. It had some mild frame damage, but it really wasn't the frame. But you could tell that whoever had driven the car, if there was a steep driveway, just head on to a steep driveway. And I know you've had that happen to you before, because it happens to me. And, it hurts. So it hurts because it damages the car, and it damages the front end. So that means that this car could potentially be out of alignment, or it could need a ball joint, or it could have a bent tie rod in, or a tie rod. So there are a lot of things. So these are the kind of services, that's the information you need to know. So if you're going to buy a used car, the takeaway from my explanation here is that you'll want a third set of eyes from a qualified shop to perform a pre-purchase vehicle inspection. And so here's your buzzword. That when you're looking at let's say you've got a couple of used cars and you're interested, and you're looking at 2 used cars, let the salesman know when you're talking with that salesperson, when you get really interested and you get down to that you're going to be taking that car to a local service provider and have them, or ask that salesman, is it okay if I take this car and have an inspection performed on it? Well, if the salesman is smart at all, the salesman and knows you're looking at 2 different cars, knows that one is much better than the other one, the salesman's going to lead you away from the bad car if he or she is a good salesman. It's going to lead you away from the bad car, or it's going to tell you, now wait a minute, this car's $3,000 less than the other car you're looking at, and yet there's only 5,000 miles difference. But let me explain to you why. The classification of this car, the condition of this car. So I just want you to know that the deal that you're getting that's $3,000 less than this other not so great a deal is because of the condition of the car. Now, you could take both cars and have a pre-purchase inspection on both cars, just don't expect the results to be the same on the car that is less expensive. Does that make sense? I hope it does. 888-227-2546. We're going to go to Jim in Detroit when I come back, and we'll take your calls with Miss Jad at 227-2546. Whatever that number is, I'm supposed to remember. Don't go away. I'll be back. Like us, you'll love us. We recently had an '08 Ford Expedition come into the shop, and the owner was complaining about an awful burning smell after driving the car any distance. After giving the vehicle a once-over, we found leaking valve cover gaskets which were allowing oil to run down onto the exhaust manifold. The entire engine bay was also covered with a fine film of oil from a bad power steering hose. We needed to clean everything first so we could accurately diagnose and fix the problem quickly. We used Berryman B33 engine degreaser and sprayed it onto a cool engine. We let it sit for a short time, then rinsed it off, leaving everything clean and oil-free. Once we replaced the hose and the valve cover gaskets, the Ford was ready to get back on the road. Berryman B33 engine degreaser was perfect for this job. The fast spray-on, rinse-off cycle saves time and conserves water. The product's also safe to use. Its biodegradable formula contains no harmful phosphates, solvents, abrasives, or VOCs. Learn more about Berryman B33 degreaser and other great Berryman products at berrymanproducts.com. That's berrymanproducts.com. Folks, we're testing an Intune i2 performance programmer from Diablo Sport, and we'll share feedback and results over the next few months. First is ease of installation. Directions were clear and the setup was easy. The Intune i2 is preloaded with dyno and street-tested performance programs developed specifically for your car or truck, ensuring optimal power and drivability gains. From there, you can then customize a tune tailored to your own performance needs. What a great way to boost power without even popping the hood. Diablo Sport Intune i2 has a fantastic look and now features the latest generation ARM processor for a higher resolution screen and an exceptionally responsive touchpad. You can update your i2 software on virtually any computer, Windows, Mac, Linux, and update times are fast. Even the large updates take no more than 5 minutes. I'll report more to you about the Intune i2 in the coming weeks. In the meantime, check out the i2 for yourself at diablosport.com. That's diablosport.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
I'm 98.
Higher.
Higher at 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you for joining us today. I'm Bobby Likis, and I'm your host. Just consider me your personal car consultant. I mentioned early on about this cool place to park. Well, this really is, it's the Porsche Design Tower in Miami. And it's the 56th floor, has a parking garage. But that parking garage is part of your monthly rent, which could be $20,000 to $40,000. So if the parking, if the rent is so steep that you can't afford furniture, you can just sleep in your car because the car has a tag on it, and this garage simply you check your car in and will automatically take your car up to the 56th floor for you in its own little RFID elevator. So is that not the coolest thing? Okay, let's go to Detroit. And then, by the way, this is a great time for you to get in. Miss Jan is standing by. We'll take your calls at 888 Car Clinic. That's 888-227-2546. Let's go to Jim in Detroit. Jim, good morning, sir. Welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you join us.
It's always my pleasure each week to get that nice welcome from you, Bobby.
Thank you.
And let's start with today's first car clinic report.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. GM is putting a footprint across the world where cars are not selling good. They're removing sales from that country and putting it in countries will, at this point, sell better if they pick better countries. They're making a decisive decision. Is Ford Company making a decisive decision? No, not at the present time. In fact, they're going to be removing some of their production workers to make up for the lost sales this year. So there's a neat contrast right there. And GM has already introduced in your showroom, when you're looking for a car, you have it there, the new Bolt. Now, GM has it way ahead of Ford because Ford's competitive electric car will not come out until the year 2021, according to my information.
Well,
so
I think that makes
first on and first served.
I think that makes sense. What you're saying. So, Jim, what you're saying is that the two different tacks that the corporations are doing are really opposite. Where Ford is letting people go because of short sales, GM is letting countries go that don't buy the cars and putting more cars in where they're fishing where the fish are biting, right, so to speak.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's but big corporations sometimes have that problem. They have the issue with doing what makes a lot of sense, and because they're in such layers, it's really difficult that and from the experience that I've seen and I've had with corporations, and I was on a council for a large aftermarket parts company, and it was a 2-year gig, and there were 10 shop owners around the nation that was the council, and they would fly us into corporate, and they would present to us all of the programs. There were 14,000 member shops, and so of the 14,000, 10 were chosen to preview these programs, and I was one of the 10 shops owners that previewed it, and in all candor, that really didn't mean a lot because they already knew what they were going to do. They only wanted the 10 of us. Now, this is my opinion. This is how I felt, and it's a slam against the corporation. So I'm not going to tell you the corporation name, but I will tell you this is the fact. I got there. They really weren't interested in what my feelings or my sayings were. They already had their minds made up. They just wanted to present their newest programs to the 10 top shops, and then they could sell it to or present it to the other 14,000 shops and say, well, the top shops, this is what they recommend. And that was it, whether we recommended it or not. I really never got along. I never did feel like I was in the right place there. And no surprise, when I got back, my team actually told me when I left, now you're going to be disillusioned when you get there. And Jim, I was disillusioned when I got there. So anyway, I'll turn it back to you, but that was my corporate experience. And it's a shame that the only corporation I could see that could run a worse business would be, I won't mention that because I'm on national radio. Okay, I better shut up about this time. I'll turn the mic back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Bobby. I will not shut up. I will continue to come up with another idea.
Okay, all right.
The tire companies recently, Goodyear being the first to announce that tires are going to really skyrocket in price. Why? Because in Asia, latex and the rubber trees are at a standstill and not producing. Consequently, low demand means high prices if we want new tires and need new tires on our car. One of the way to find out if you need a new tire is put a quarter between the treads, have the face of the quarter upside down of the president on that quarter, and if you can see it in the tread, that means you better get new tires. That's a good test, and it still works to this day. Now, if you get the tires, you're going to have to expect to pay for the bigger SUV vehicles, a bigger tire size, up to $1,000 for a set of tires. Now, the way to kind of bump the bumper on this one is don't buy them now if you don't really need them. Wait until the fall, where fall sales on tires usually occur. Some people say shop online for tires. But if you shop online and get them, you've got to find somebody that's knowledgeable how to balance the tire, and maybe with the high price, some of the tire dealers will give you a special price on insurance for the tires. Like I have an insurance plan that covers if on my bad roads in Michigan, I hit a bad bump in the road, they will replace the whole tire, the wheel, and the axle on this insurance plan.
That's interesting. It would have to be a pretty good bump there. You know, that is a
Well,
Jim,
we got them. You've been here. You rent
I
a
have,
car. You
yeah. I've
know
been to
it.
Detroit. Yeah, when I come to Detroit, I don't drive. I fly, of course, and then I rent a car. So somehow or other, that doesn't bother me for potholes to hit a rental car. That's just one of the little. That's the only relief that I get when I drive a car that doesn't belong to me, because I'm so cognizant and so aware of other individuals' cars. That's what I've done all my life. But I will say this with regard to tires. You hear me talking about the General Tire. Well, that the penny Abe, you can pinch a penny, and we all know about that, and the quarter works as well. But you pinch a penny and you put Abe's head in the tread, and if you can see Abe's head, then the tire is worn, because the tread of the tire should be deeper than the 2/32 that it takes in a margin for Abe's head. What is really neat about the General Tire is that in the center tread, you've heard me talk about this, Jim, the center tread has a tire replacement monitor, and the tire replacement monitor is etched into the rubber, and it's at different depths. Each letter is at different depths, and when it wears down to 230,
warning.
Yeah, it gives you a warning. It says the tire replacement monitor wears away, and it says replace tire. That's the only letters left out of a tire replacement monitor is replace tire, rather than tire replacement monitor. It's replace tire. So it's really a cool. Whatever the engineer was at General Tire, they're way ahead of the other competition. And I say that not because they are sponsors. I say that because if a person has a General Tire on his or her car, all you have to do is park the car with the wheel turned to the right or left and look at the tire, and you know if you need tires or not, versus having to wait until somebody says, oh, you need tires, and then you don't know if you need them or not until you start to measure the tread. Too few shops measure the tread as part of their services. And I can tell you, it took me too long and my team too long before we ever really started measuring treads on tires, and that is the only way you can maximize the life of a tire is to measure the tread at every oil change so you can see the wear pattern on the tire. And that means you got to measure the center tread, the inside tread, and the outside tread. And if a perfect world, you'd have 7/32 all the way across, and if you've got 5, 6, and 7, then if in the inside is 5, you got a serious issue with alignment. Let me turn the mic back to you. What else did you bring us today?
Okay, Bobby, it's a long issue for months I've played with it on your show. But finally, the airbag situation is being rectified between Toyota, Subaru, and Mazda and BMW. $15.8 million of money will be returned as a compensation for the lack of time that has taken Takata to replace our airbags. And finally, I really think they should have in the beginning, if I could have been in charge or do what I would do, I would even have gotten a subsidiary company to help me get bags in people's cars and not just say, ride the way you are. That was poor judgment.
I agree. That there were so many of those bags that, you're talking about multi-car makers and millions of bags. But Jim, and no excuse for Takata or for any of the car manufacturers whatsoever, but I'm quick to not throw blame because there are so many cars that we buy, And the mass, Henry Ford invented and created the production, which is mass production is just an assembly of parts. So Henry Ford didn't invent the car; he invented the mass production, building of the car. And when you're in mass production, and you're rolling through a lot of cars there, if you get a bad batch of parts, then you're going to have that bad batch of cars that have those bad batch of parts on them. So the good news is that now with the technology we have is that we can catch those much more quickly because of the computer catches and because of comebacks. Anyway, I'll turn the mic back to you finally, quickly.
Okay, it's my final report. When you see a car that's locked up, even if it's no warmer than 51 degrees, sun can build up and create heat in the car.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? You shouldn't leave your child or your dog in a locked car that's locked and they can't open, where heat can build up and it could possibly either kill the child or a dog. Should you go to that car and break that car window open because you're a good Samaritan? I don't think so. You're breaking the law by breaking into somebody's car to open that window, and I wouldn't take the risk. The main point is, if you got a dog or a child with you, don't leave it in the car, even though it's 50 degrees. That's my point.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you for your report. As always, great to have you in the house. We'll see you again next week.
All right, looking forward to it.
And folks, I want to share this with you because this is kind of exciting for me. There's a new show coming out. It's called Speed is the New Black, and that's on Velocity channel. And it's coming up the 25th, as I remember. And we have with us Noah Alexander, who is in the queue right now. So Noah, if you'll stay right there, when I come back, we're going to put you on the air. And folks, if you have a question, feel free to call in 888-227-2546. Maybe you have a question of Noah Alexander, who is the host of Speed is the New Black. I'm really interested in what he has to say, and this is going to be, I think, and it remains to be seen, but a really great new program on Velocity TV. That's The Speed is the New Black, and with us is going to be Noah Alexander. When I come back, 888-227-2546. Like us, you'll love us. Don't touch that dial. Here's an email from a car clinic listener. David writes, "What's the amber light on my dash? It looks like a cork pointing at an angle to a picture on the side of the car. This light has been on and off for about a year now, and I think it's time I check it out." Well, David, no time like the present. The light indicates a detected failure that could allow gasoline fumes to evaporate into the air, costing you money in lost fuel and polluting the air. Most common failure that trips the light? A small evap leak, or in other words, loose fuel cap. Besides being tight, the cap must also be in good condition. Fuel caps don't last forever, and poor quality caps don't work well from the beginning. Stant makes a large line of fuel caps that will last a very long time and ensure proper sealing of the system. Stant fuel caps are the only aftermarket caps to include all the safety features of the original equipment cap. Visit Stant.com or ask your local parts store for a Stant gas cap by name.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Great program today. Call with your questions at 888 Car Clinic. But first, what a treat we have in stock. Noah Alexander, host of Velocity TV's Speed is the New Black, on the hotline with us right now. From his classic car studio in St. Louis, Missouri, Noah and his team create custom vehicles that are designed for the open road, whether it's for participating in cross-country rally racing, going 200 miles per hour at the legendary Texas Mile, or racing their old Challenger against a newer model. These babies are built for speed. In Velocity's original new series, Speed is the New Black, viewers get an inside look at the intricate builds coming out of Noah's shop, from redesigned classic cars such as the 1962 Corvette to a 1990 Porsche 911 and everything in between. Noah, a great welcome to you to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house.
Thank you, Bobby. Thanks for having me.
Share with our Car Clinic listeners and viewers the work that you're doing from Classic Car Studios there in St. Louis. You seem to have attracted worldwide clientele.
You know, we've got a lot of great clients from all over the world, all over the country, and you know what, a lot of great local clients as well that have really helped push the company forward over the years. And on Speed is the New Black, we bring you inside the shop at Classic Car Studio, and we show you what we're doing. We've got a number of very cool builds that are not only built to win shows, but also built to flat out perform. And all these builds, you know, we show you the process, we show you the great lengths we go to put these builds together. And at the end of every episode on Speed is the New Black, our customers drive the wheels off these things. So whether we're at the track, as we were recently with a 1,000 horsepower 69 Chevelle, or even, you know, we've got a 53 Ford that we close down some roads, and our customer Rob locally drives this thing flat out through the country, and we bring you along for the ride on the show, and it is really exciting. It's been great to make. I think our customers are going to love it, and I think new viewers are really going to love this new show.
Well, it sounds like it, Noah, and so you're actually building these cars for specific purposes, as it appears.
We are, you know, for us, you know, we want to, on Speed is the New Black, we want to show you how to do a Classic Car Studio, and that's really about creating these experiences for our customers. So these cars have deep emotional ties into people's past. They may have raced when they were kids. They may have grown up. They may have, you know, they may have been brought home from the hospital in these cars. Whatever it might be, they want to build them again now. So, you know, a lot of the process, a lot of the design process on the show that you'll see on Speed is the New Black is figuring out what these customers want to do and building this car, like I said, to create that experience. So I just mentioned Rob, local customer, grew up on a farm. He brings us this awful farm truck. I mean, this thing is a rusty mess, but he wants to go fast. And so what we do is we get a top-of-the-line autocross chassis. We pretty much just use the cab with a lot of new metal, but at the end of the day, we've got a truck that can drive around a racetrack, but it's still an old Ford pickup truck, so it's pretty incredible. And, you know, that's what Rob wanted to do. At the end of the day, that's what he got to do. So we took a little bit of his past and put in a lot of modern performance, and it was a pretty good recipe on that specific build.
Certainly sounds like it. We're talking with Noah Alexander, host of Speed is the New Black. So, Noah, what's the wildest thing you've ever built? Any personal favorites?
Oh, man. So my favorite is our we built a 1966 C10 shop truck. All the guys, we're big into the team here. We wanted all the guys to weigh in and build something truly over the top and special. Just for us, we didn't actually have a customer on it. So we had a 1966 C10. It has a patina on it, no paint, but it's all crazy performance stuff. So we've got an LS motor, twin turbochargers. We've got vintage air. We've got an air ride suspension, custom leather interior, and this is we want our guys to get out and drive this truck everywhere, and that's what it does. So makes over 1,000 horsepower, but it's a you could daily drive it if you wanted to. So for us, we just kind of put all of our heads together and built something absolutely crazy. That was the latest and greatest, very, very cool thing we built.
Yeah, sounds cool. Let's shift gears, Noah. You and your crew are now featured in the new show, Speed is the New Black, on Velocity Network. Share with our Car Connect listeners and viewers, what's the show about specifically, but more specifically, how did this opportunity come your way?
So I'll start with how the opportunity came our way. We work with a great local company called No Coast Productions, and I teamed up with them because they really wanted to focus on get in not so much drama in the shop, but really focus on the quality of the build, how we were putting these cars together, and how our customers were using these cars in the end. So on Speed is the New Black, you see us, we meet with all the customers, they talk about their dream build, what they want to do, and we basically start from scratch and turn out some over-the-top, show quality, crazy classic cars that flat out perform.
Wow.
So you get to come in, you get to meet all the guys in the shop, and what I like about the show is everybody always thought you had to be from the West Coast or the East Coast to build crazy custom hot rods, but there is so much talent in the Midwest, and a lot of these guys work at Classic Car Studio, and I wanted to be able to put them out there and show the world what these guys can do. So I'm extremely pumped up by the fact that people from all over the world will get to see inside our shop and how we put these high-performance machines together.
Oh, you have to be. What's your background? How'd you get your passion? Where'd your passion for cars come from?
It's kind of I'm very much like a lot of my customers. I'm just a car guy. I grew up, I was obsessed with cars when I was a little kid, but I didn't have anybody in my family who was really into this stuff, so I basically built anything I could that had a motor in it by myself, made it all the way through, got through college, and, realized I really wanted to work in the car business, and I hadn't planned on doing that. I've got a psychology degree, and I got a minor in business, and I just kind of went through the educational course there. But as soon as I got out of school, I was looking around, what I want to do, and I started working in the car business. As soon as I got that taste, I never went back. So I started Classic Car Studio, and at the time I was 24 years old, and, what we wanted to do was put together a team of guys could build some of the best cars on the planet, and we've been working away at it ever since. It's been a fun ride.
A couple of final questions, Noah. Are you a car collector yourself? And if so, just give us an overview. And what are you currently driving down the streets of St. Louis?
So I get to participate in the collector car world in a really cool way, because when we initially started this business, the first thing I did was I bought and sold classic cars I really loved. So at any given time, we've got a showroom of 20 to 30 classic cars. So if I'm driving a car, if I'm running an errand during the day, it's the flavor of the week for me, because you can bet I'm driving a really cool classic car. So I love muscle cars. I love vintage European cars. I love old pickup trucks. I've never been able to focus on just one thing, because the automotive world is a vast place and there's a lot of exciting stuff out there. But when I was at the earliest age, the car that got to me, I don't know why, is a Porsche 911. I love the sound, I love the shape, and after that it was flat into performance stuff and muscle cars. That was both big passions for me.
Well, you just actually hit my hot button, because one of my cars is a 1980 model Weissach. They only made 406 of those, and it is as new. You'll have to come down to Car Connect Studios, the center of the automotive universe, and take a drive in it. It's quite stock, but it's quite as new. And I want to thank you for joining us on Bobby Likis Car Connect. My final question, a website where our viewers can check out more information on your accomplishments.
Yeah, so check out our website at www.classiccarstudio.com. And do not forget to miss May 24th, 9/8 Central. Speed is the New Black on Velocity.
Noah Alexander, host, obviously, of the Velocity TV's Speed is the New Black. That's 9 o'clock, 8 Central, right?
9 o'clock, 8 Central. Speed is the New Black on Velocity. That is correct. Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you, Noah. Thanks for joining us today. Always a pleasure. Look forward to having you back on the show again.
All right. Thank you so much.
And I know one of the questions that I really wanted to ask, but I didn't, and I don't know about you folks, but and Fabio and Miss Jan and Jonathan, where did the name Speed is the New Black? Of all the questions that I wanted to ask Noah, that just, well, we got to talking about cars, so obviously I just failed to think about that. But folks, I don't understand that, and that's just, it sort of doesn't make sense to me. Maybe they wanted a name that no other car show had, and they had to put Speed in there, and Speed is the New Black. So maybe it's Orange is the New Black. Maybe it's a takeoff on other TV shows. I don't really think so. I think it's just whoever the producer of the program made the decision to name it that. But I'm curious to see what it's. I know it'll be a lot of fun, and I know that they do good work, and there's a real shop. I mean, and I'll tell you, for a young guy like that to have a program like that is really a great opportunity, not only to be successful, and we all want to be successful, but it's a great opportunity to bring younger people into the automotive service industry, albeit different in our world than what it is in Noah's world. Now you say, well, what does that mean? Well, like the guy that had the old truck there that says, hey, I don't care about the paint of the truck, what have you. I want this truck to be, about 1,000 horsepower in a truck. So, I mean, I can imagine if you're driving and he didn't say what model it was, but if you're driving down the road and you're looking at an S10 Chevrolet truck and it needs painting and you don't recognize it has big tires on the back, maybe you don't, or maybe you don't have a chance to see because you pull up next to it at a red light and bam, there's that truck with 1,000 horsepower just toying with you, and you just bought a new $60,000, $80,000 Corvette, and you get your doors blown off. I mean, that's embarrassing. That's the kind of thing that I imagine that would be a lot of fun. So to that end, and from my experience in building race cars, which I have built and raced rear engine drag cars and others as well, there's much more money and time and energy and money times 10 that go into a race car than what the race car will provide. For me, it was an education, and I never mixed my race car, which was my hobby, with my profession, which was repairing of automobiles. But to say that they didn't intermingle would be totally inaccurate, because the things that I learned by building a race car or a racing engine, and I was an engine man, was not a driver, was number one, what would work and what didn't work. And in particular, I don't know about you folks out there if you've ever done any racing, but in particular, the last drag car that I raced was a rear engine dragster with a 500 cubic inch Hemi engine. And we took a 426 Hemi and stroked it a half inch, and that brought it to 500 cubic inches. And that engine we ran in a B gas dragster, which means it was a normally aspirated gas powered high octane gasoline, straight gasoline, high octane. We had 13.2 to 1 compression ratio, and that car ran 8.1 seconds in a quarter mile. In fact, for some 7 or 8 months, that's the fastest that it would run, no matter what gear ratio I put in it, or how I tuned it, or how I changed the injectors. I tried to tune everything that I could. And only when I changed the design of the combustion chamber. Now, wait a minute. It's a Hemi chamber. So I didn't change the upper design of the chamber. I changed the lower design, the shape of the piston. And I changed that design, and that was the first piston that I'd ever designed. But I built this same engine 40 times, 40 different iterations of this same half-inch stroked Hemi engine over the 8-month period of time. And finally got it right. And we ran the national drag racing record, NHRA, National Hot Rod Association, the record at the Gator Nationals in 1975 was a 7.79, and we unloaded our vehicle out of the trailer, and the first pass we ran 7.89 seconds on a 7.79. So we ran a tenth off the record. Now that's a lot. That's a lot to make up a tenth. But the second run was was in the low eights. It still wasn't 7.79, but it was on half a tenth off the record, and that's 500 thousandths. And I will tell you, it's just amazing that with adrenaline flow. I get excited just thinking about it now. But I will tell you, it's a very expensive sport if you do it for a hobby. And so in 1975 was when we built our first 5,000 square foot building where we're broadcasting from right now. And it was a race or work. Well, as you know, work came first. And to that end, I do miss that race. I'm not much of a spectator. I like to have hands-on. So whenever we discuss your vehicle, that's why I try to paint for you a picture so you can better understand the makeup of that vehicle. And to that end, in the next hour coming up, I'm going to share with you a real issue that Ford has. So if you drive a 4-liter V6 Ford like an Explorer, and you have an oil leak that appears to be the pan, and it's not coming from the top of the engine, and that's easy enough to find out. And more than likely, if you have an Explorer, you will, if you don't already have, you'll have an oil leak that's coming from the oil pan or the rear main seal. Either one of those, if you have a rear main seal leak on an Explorer or an oil pan leak on an Explorer, both those seals should be replaced at the same time. And be prepared to spend some money. And also be prepared, and that's what I'll tell you about in the next hour, because there are some to-dos that any shop must learn. And we learned the hard way on our nickel. Our customer paid us the one time to repair the oil pan leak, and then we repaired that oil pan leak. Well, I'll tell you about it in the hour coming up. It's a great story, but it also could help save someone out there some money. I'll be back after the top of the hour. I'm Bobby Likis. Don't touch that dial.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Dear Bobby, while traveling, my 08 Subaru needed to have a tire replaced due to a puncture. I could not find the exact tire and used an off-brand instead. Different brand, but same size. Could this cause problems for my all-wheel drive vehicle? Tire diameter is critical, especially on all-wheel drive vehicles. Using the same size from different manufacturers can create enough of a difference to be an issue, even with just one tire. Not to mention the differences in tread wear levels. The vehicle could shudder on turns. It could even damage the all-wheel drive system. In some vehicles, the all-wheel drive system becomes disabled and won't work at all. Vehicle manufacturers state the concern about mismatched tires and diameter differences through their service departments and technical service bulletins. Some vehicle manufacturers actually require replacement tires in sets of 4 to help avoid any issues. Buying off-brand tires can also be a problem because not all brands have nationwide coverage. This is just one of the reasons we recommend General Tire so frequently, as they're available coast to coast. Learn more at GeneralTire.com. That's GeneralTire.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the cultivated section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the cultivated section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with. And by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemurs. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's Vehicle Protection Program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Count down to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Marty White. Welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad you tuned in. Right along with me, and I'll share with you information. I just mentioned earlier in today's broadcast about the Explorer that had the V6 with an oil pan leak and a rear main seal leak. And so I'll share the fix with you this hour. So hear me and hear me well. If you drive, like, say, an Explorer with the 4-liter V6 Ford engine and it leaks on the oil pan or the rear main seal, and you take it to a shop, I can assure you that if that shop has not had issues with that same job before, they will fail to fix that leak the first time around. It's all but impossible because of the steps that you have to take and because of the time that is required. So if somebody gives you a good deal on repairing an oil leak, just beware. If you're driving a V6 4-liter Ford, the rear main seal and pan gasket is really difficult. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by Diablo Sport and the Intune i2. I wonder where they get that name. Intune i2 Performance Programmer. All I know is the Diablo Sport Intune i2 Performance Programmer will boost your vehicle's power without even opening the hood. You can learn more at diablosport.com. Your calls when I come back at 888-227-2546.
If it's time to replace your vehicle's battery, stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and take advantage of our exclusive Do It Right rebate. For a limited time, purchase a Superstart Premium, Extreme, or Platinum battery and get up to a $15 O'Reilly gift card by mail. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Your car and your life have a lot of moving parts, and your car battery is what keeps it all going. While all batteries may look the same on the outside, it's what's inside that matters. Choose a battery with PowerFrame grid technology inside. It's engineered with confidence to keep you going longer. That means you can trust your battery with PowerFrame to be there start after start. Visit Advance Auto Parts or CarQuest for a battery with PowerFrame grid technology, or learn more at powerframe.com. Here's an email from a Car Clinic listener. David writes, "What's the amber light on my dash? It looks like a cork pointing at an angle to a picture on the side of the car. This light has been on and off for about a year now, and I think it's time I check it out." Well, David, no time like the present. The light indicates a detected failure that could allow gasoline fumes to evaporate into the air, costing you money in lost fuel and polluting the air. Most common failure that trips the light? A small evap leak, or in other words, loose fuel cap. Besides being tight, the cap must also be in good condition. Fuel caps don't last forever, and poor quality caps don't work well from the beginning. Stant makes a large line of fuel caps that will last a very long time and ensure proper sealing of the system. Stant fuel caps are the only aftermarket caps to include all the safety features of the original equipment cap. Visit Stant.com or ask your local parts store for a Stant gas cap by name.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at lendingtree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic, folks. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Sign up to be an O Rewards member today, and you earn 1 point for every dollar spent. You can receive rewards twice as fast and on the go when you provide your email address. O Rewards members get a $5 reward for every 150 points they earn. It's fast, it's easy, and the best part, it's free. And only at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. See your local store for the details, or you can go to O Rewards. That's orewards.com. O Rewards. Oh, what a great day it is. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Oh, how's my car running? Oh, well, you didn't say that. So how is your car running? Is your car clean? How long has it been since the oil has changed? How long has it been since you checked tire pressure? How long has it been since you checked the tread depth on the tires? How long has it been since you've replaced the windshield wipers? There's a host of easy-to-do things that adds life to your automobile that, for the life of me, speaking of life, I don't really understand why car owners that pay all the money that it takes to buy a car and all the money that it takes to repair a car continue to drive that car thinking that all you have to do is put gas in it and change the oil every 3, 5, 6,000 miles and the car will be okay. It won't be okay. The car is a machine. Now, it's a machine that's very sophisticated because of all of the mechanicals that are connected and controlled by electronics. You just think about it. The steering, electronic. Throttle, electronic. Brakes, wait, that's manual. But wait, there's also electronic control for the ABS as well. Stability control. If you're about to lose it in the wet weather, the car reacts and applies the brakes, and you're steering, but the car is really steering itself back into position. So cars are very much safer today than they've ever been. By the way, I forgot to invite you to call, so I'll do that now. Jan will take your calls at 888-CAR-CLINIC. That's 888-227-2546. Put you in a queue, and then I'll put you on the air. A little later in today's program, we're going to have Julie Kleinert from General Motors. So if you have a child and you'd like to know more about child seats, I think you're going to want to stick around and hear what this person has to say about the proper way to install a seat. And I was asked this question, and I'll throw this out to the audience. What do you do with your child seat when you're finished with it? Your child's grown up, and you no longer need the seat. You don't want to throw it away. I mean, it's never been in an accident. It's perfectly good. And I was asked this on the program one day, and my reaction, and it was an uneducated, it was just my opinion. So it was through a lack of education, or not a lack of education, but I was just to say I was uneducated as to what I should do. I've since learned that you should never hand me down a child seat. And how many times and how many people out there have used a child seat that was already used by a relative and or a friend? Really, there's there's a born-on date. Well, not really, but there are codes that are on child seats. For when that seat is manufactured and made. And every time a new child seat comes out, it's an improved model, just like a car is improved. So you can hand down shoes and maybe cars, that you give to your kids to go to school that you know are in good shape, and you want a new car, and so you hand down your child to go to college, or your child, a young man, young woman to go to college. But the bottom line is, child seats, I say, do not do so. We're going to ask a little more questions of Julie when we get her on the air. But first, let's go to George, and who has a gasoline question. George, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. You're on the air.
Hello?
George, good morning. You're on the air,
Yes.
sir. Yeah. Good
Yes,
morning.
I wanted, yes, good morning. I wanted to ask a question about gasoline.
Sure.
And I can't think of the kind of gasoline. It's like marine gasoline. Can't think of the word.
Well, straight gasoline, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what about it?
Well, is if you go and buy, like, say, 92 octane gasoline,
Mm-hmm.
is that straight gasoline, or does it have to say, what's the word I'm looking for?
Ethanol,
Bobby, help me.
ethanol. Ethanol.
Thank you.
Yeah. Right.
Thank you.
Well, the
ethanol free.
The pump will say if it contains up to 10% ethanol or up to 15%, and up to the pump will say that.
Okay.
So the pump that you're using, that you're filling your boat or your car from, will give you not only the octane rating, but if that pump is pumping a blend of ethanol gasoline.
Okay. So if it does not say ethanol free, then it is not ethanol free.
Not necessarily. If it is ethanol, wait a minute. The question is, if it doesn't say ethanol free, it will say, forget that. It will say if it has ethanol in it. This pump, this gas has up to 10% ethanol, so it must say that. So if it says nothing, if it's 92 octane and it doesn't have an ethanol label on it, then it has to be E0, which is no ethanol and straight gasoline.
Okay.
But it doesn't have to say free. The ethanol free is a marketing ploy that gas stations use, and you can see that. I mean, you could drive 100 miles down the road and you'll see a sign that says ethanol free gas sold here, which, by the way, is 50 or 60 cents more, and still has gasoline. Is nasty stuff, George. Really. Anyway, but does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Very
Yes,
good.
sir.
Thank you, sir. We'll take a call from Nebraska. Mike, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hi, Bobby. How are you this
I'm
morning?
fine, thank you. And yourself?
Good. Got a 2008 GMC Arcadia, and when I accelerate and getting on the interstate around 60 miles an hour, it throws a StabiliTrak service to shuts off StabiliTrak.
Right.
I took it in. They thought it was the mass airflow, so we replaced the mass airflow sensor, and it still does it. Then it looked like it was a throttle body sensor or something.
Does the check
So on
engine
that
light?
car,
Does the check engine light come on?
Not normally.
But so you're telling me the StabiliTrak, it has, obviously there's an engine problem, because the StabiliTrak will check out if there's first two scenarios, Mike. If the StabiliTrak depends on its operation on the engine to be healthy and all the controls of the engine to be intact. In other words, the throttle control. A loose gas cap will throw a trouble code and make the check engine light come on, and the StabiliTrak will say, oh, there's a problem in the engine control. It doesn't know what's wrong. It says there's a problem. Ergo, I cannot perform, because the only way that I can perform my duty is to have the engine 100% healthy. So I'm going to warn the driver, don't count on me, and that happens quite often. Very few times are there problems with the StabiliTrak, and most often there are problems with the engine, and after you reset the engine, then you reset the StabiliTrak light. Having said that, a master ASE certified tech using the right scan tool that can go beyond the gatekeeper and get into the architecture is what you're going to have to check that StabiliTrak out, because we can make those solenoids operate with our laptop to test them. Any questions?
No, that's where to go, though, you say.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You must do that.
Past the years.
Exactly. You got it. It's past that. See, everybody, a lot of people, you can take a cell phone and read the trouble code in the car. So what? You can go to a parts store and they'll read it for you for nothing. So what? So you got a faucet leaking, or you got water in the floor. You don't know where it's leaking from. You got to take the wall apart to find out where the pipe's bursted. Well, the bottom line is, with a car, you have to get beyond the gatekeeper. There's an electronic gatekeeper that keeps wannabes out, and professionals can get in. Yeah,
we took it for a drive, and the mechanic had a scan tool.
Great.
And it's cleared up some of the errors, but now it's still at 60 miles an hour. It kicks in, drops the air, and it shows mass airflow. It says airflow failure.
Well, then continue. Stay with that same technician, because you're on the right track, and repair one thing at a time. And if you've replaced the mass air, which you have, and still get that same error code, there could be a connection point between. Then that's called a pinout test between the mass airflow wiring and ohms resistance to the PCM, to the control module itself, and that's what you would want to do, Fabio. So you'd want to make sure of that. Hey, folks, when I come back, thank you, Mike. When I come back, Julie Kleinert, Chevrolet Technical Fellow for Child Passenger Safety, and your calls at 888-227-2546. Likis, you'll love us. We recently had the opportunity to work on a 2005 F-150. The vehicle owner was complaining about brake noise. His pads and shoes were not terribly old, but did have some miles on them. He's in the delivery service business, which puts his vehicle through a lot of stop-and-go traffic. This works the brakes really hard and can often lead to glazing and excessive brake dust. After performing a visual inspection, we cleaned the brakes using Berryman Chlorinated Brake Parts Cleaner. It's the first VOC-compliant chlorinated brake cleaner available in over 20 years. Berryman Chlorinated Brake Parts Cleaner is designed to stop brake squeal. It's the strongest carb-compliant brake cleaner available and dries completely without residue. As part of the process, we were sure to clean the pivot and shoe pad contact points, along with the brake spring hardware and self-adjuster mechanisms. Brake dust gets everywhere, and a proper cleaning on an annual basis will lead to longer brake life and better brake performance. Learn more about the new Berryman Chlorinated Brake Parts Cleaner at berrymanproducts.com. That's berrymanproducts.com. Let's dive into another Car Clinic email. Dear Bobby, my vehicle has just gone out of warranty. It has 48,000 miles, and now all maintenance is my responsibility. Can you suggest a maintenance checklist? I'd like to keep this vehicle long-term. Assuming your vehicle is about 4 years old and has just under 50,000 miles on the odometer, we suggest starting with the fluids. Think brake fluid, transmission fluid, and of course coolant. The cooling system is often overlooked. While coolant and cooling systems have evolved through the years, they still need service. Have the cooling system flushed and refilled with a proper antifreeze coolant for your specific vehicle, and inspect all belts and hoses. And don't forget the thermostat and radiator cap. Complete the system service with a new Stant Superstat and a new Stant radiator pressure cap. This is a great way to extend the life of all cooling system components and add reliability to your vehicle. Stant products meet or exceed OE quality in both fit and function. Learn more at Stant.com. That's Stant.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip
from Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Great program this morning. Call with your questions at 888 Car Clinic. On the line with us now, the hotline is Julie Kleinert, Chevrolet's Technical Fellow for child passenger safety. Julie, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You are most welcome. With the upcoming Memorial Day weekend and trips across town or across the country, our focus does turn to driving safety. Before we talk about the details of what Chevrolet and Safe Kids Worldwide are doing to help protect children's lives, Julie, share with our Car Clinic listeners and viewers, what is a technical fellow for child passenger safety?
Well, I am basically the technical engineering lead at Chevrolet for anything that has to do with child safety. So that includes making sure we are designing for car seats. There are lots of them out there, and they change quite a bit, and also making sure all of our restraint systems and other systems on the vehicle are going to work well, not only for adults, but for those kids who are going to be in and around our cars.
Well, certainly there's a lot of lives that depend on the engineering that goes into that. There are some alarming statistics regarding parents' use or improper use, as it will, of child safety seats. What do you think, and why is it so tough for parents and caregivers to properly install a safety seat and buckle their children in?
Yeah, our statistics say about 3 out of 4 car seats aren't being used correctly, and it's a complicated process there. You know, children come in various sizes, they grow quickly, and there are many different child restraints on the market to try to capture that range from the very small newborn baby up until the older kids who are in booster seats, and making sure that they have the best protection available in their car seats. But it can lead to challenges because things have to be changed, to adapt to the child as they grow.
Well, Julie, walk us through, for our parents, how to properly inspect the seat installation, just the overview, the general things that they might be doing wrong or might not know what to do.
Well, first, at Chevy, we really want to encourage all parents to go get their car seat checked by a trained technician. But until the time that they can, we've come up with 5 quick checks that you can do at home to make sure that you're getting everything correct. The first step is we want to make sure your child's in the right child seat. And there are labels on the side of every child seat, so check those labels and make sure that your child is within the age range, the weight range, and the height range listed on your child seat. And something that many people may not know is that child seats have expiration dates, and so check the label for that too, and make sure that you're not using a child seat that's past its expiration date. So that's the first step. The second step is making sure they're seated in the right place in the vehicle. We know that kids are safer in the rear seat, so at Chevy we recommend that all kids under the age of 13 stay in the rear seat. Next, what direction should they be facing? Some child seats are rear-facing, some child seats are forward-facing, and the rules have changed over the last several years. Today, the recommendations are to keep your child rear-facing for as long as possible until they're at least age 2 or they outgrow that rear-facing seat. The reason for this is the rear-facing seat offers good protection for their head, neck, and spine in a crash, especially for those little ones where their spine and neck muscles are still developing.
I think that's one of the most important facets, certainly, is the age of development, and just in case, that's what the safety is all about, in case something happens that is unsuspecting, like an accident. Please continue.
Right. And then once they've outgrown that rear-facing seat, then you can put them in a forward-facing seat. One of the things we find that many people forget to do when they go from rear-facing to forward-facing is to use there's an additional strap at the top of the child seat called the top tether. It's really important to make sure you're using that top tether in addition to the seat belt or the latch system to attach the child seat when it's forward-facing, because that top tether will really help reduce the motion of your child in case there is a crash. And we want to limit that. We want to keep them from moving too far forward and help prevent any interaction with anyone else or anything else in the vehicle.
We're talking with Julie Kleinert, Chevrolet's Technical Fellow for Child Passenger Safety. Julie, give our Car Clinic listeners and viewers a few tips to ensure they're using the right seat for the age and the size of their child.
Right. And again, rear facing until 2, or they're too big. Turn them around forward facing, keep them in that forward facing seat until they're too large for that. And then the next transition is to a booster seat, which is equally important because adult belts, they're not designed to fit children as well. So those smaller kids are going to need a booster seat to make sure that the safety belts fit them well in a crash, and that's really critical. They could be anywhere between the ages of 8 and 12 before they're really ready to get out of the booster, and it's typically around 4'9" before they're going to be big enough to transition out of a booster seat to the vehicle seat belts.
So, Julie, is there a weight? Is there a specific weight? You said 4'9", but different children weigh different amounts. So, does the 4'9" overweigh the weight of that child?
Generally, the general rule of thumb is at least 80 pounds before they come out of the booster. But if they're 80 pounds and they're not 4'9", it's likely that the seatbelt's not going to fit them well. So, the important thing is we want to make sure that lap belt fits them well, can stay down low on those strong hip bones, which is where it's meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that the shoulder belt fits them well also, isn't rubbing their neck or creating any discomfort, because when that shoulder belt's not comfortable, they tend to try to squirm out of it or put it behind their back or under their arm.
Got it. One last question. If parents want a certified tech to inspect or at least assist them with installation or proper child buckling techniques, where can they go for help in their local communities?
Well, we're really proud to be partnering with Safe Kids Worldwide to provide car seat checkup events across the country. And you can find a local event or schedule a time with a certified tech at safekids.org is the website. And in addition to that, at that site, you can also find their Ultimate Car Seat Guide app. And this app has great tips on how to make sure you're doing everything correctly, along with photos, lots of photos and videos for those folks in the meantime before you can get to a check and have one of those certified technicians help you out.
Julie Kleinert, Chevrolet's Technical Fellow for Child Passenger Safety. Julie, thank you so much for joining us on Bobby Likis Car Clinic today.
Thank you.
And, I think it would be really great if local dealers, and I think of dealers when you buy a new car, and you have a child, perhaps would put on a symposium or just general classes. I think that would be, number one, a community project. We might even think about that with our, I don't know, Jan, what do you think about that? You think we would have a lot of interest in attract, number one, attract new business by performing a class like Judy was talking about? Having someone in-house that really knows and understands how to properly strap in a child. You think, well, you just click and go, but there's more to it than that. So I think that might be something that we would, I'll throw that out to the audience. Folks, what do you think? Would you appreciate, or better yet, how many out there would actually use that service if it were available at no charge? And actually go to and attend a class, because if we gave a free class, a party, you say, and 2 people showed up, we kind of feel like egg on our face, like, well, no one's interested. So anyway, let us know about that, and I'll put it out on the air here. 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. I talked about an oil leak on a Ford product. I don't have time to go into that this segment, but I will before I end the day, because if you drive a 4-liter V6 Ford and you have an oil leak for the oil pan, there's some serious issues, and it's open hood surgery to fix it properly. In the meantime, let's go to Washington, and we'll take Victor's call. Victor, as always, great to have you back in the house. Welcome again to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby. You said something kind of intrigued me. You said you designed a piston, and I was wondering how you design a piston and what you were trying to achieve, what your goal was in doing it, what your strategy was.
The goal was to increase the compression ratio because it was a drag car. It was a 500 cubic inch Hemi engine. The chamber, of course, was a machined hemispherical chamber, so you could not change the upper part of the chamber. So to design the bottom of the chamber, my goal was to fill the complete chamber on the sides. Understand, let's say that you've got a male and a female Hemi, and the male goes up, the piston goes up into the female when that's like all cylinder heads. Well, you have to have room for the valves, the intake and the exhaust. So on the intake side of the cylinder, that's the inboard side, you have the intake valve, and directly across from it on the exhaust is the outside. Now, a regular wedge chamber, the valves are turned, in a, end to end. So you've got an intake valve going from the front of the engine to the back, an intake valve and exhaust valve, an intake valve and exhaust valve. On a Hemi engine, they're turned perpendicular to the crankshaft because you got an intake on the intake side and exhaust out, and that's why it free flows. It flows more air. But in a racing engine, and in any engine that's interference, which means you have a lot of piston that goes up in the chamber for you have geometrically tight chambers, you have to have room for the valves. A stock engine, like a Honda, is an interference engine, and if a timing belt breaks on a Honda, just a stock engine, then the pistons will collide with the valves because there's not room for the pistons to be in the chamber when the valves are open and the pistons at the top. Well, that was the part of my issue because I ran a very 700 thousandths opening lift on the valves, 700 thousandths. That's almost 3/4 of an inch. I mean, at 8,000 RPM, that's unbelievable. And so that's a lot of pressure on the spring. But getting back to the chamber, and I'll have to wait until the break because we've got a hard break coming up. So, Victor, I want you to stay right there. And, folks, I'll invite you to call 888-227-2546. When I come back, I'll give the short version of how I created a piston design that put us on the national record. Don't go away. We recently had the chance to talk tires with John Robinson, Senior Communications Specialist at General Tire. John provided several tips, including things you can do to help extend tire life.
There are things you can do to extend the life of your tires. One is your air pressure. Check it on a monthly basis. The other is your wheel alignment and your front end alignment on your vehicle. We have a couple products that will help you with that. The vehicle alignment indicators on the tires, as well as RTM, the Replace Tire Monitor System, that will actually tell you in a series of words printed on the tire when it's time for new tires. So always check your tires and take care of the tires because they will take care of you at the end of the day.
And now through June 15th, General Tire is offering up to $70 on a prepaid Visa gift card when you purchase 4 qualifying tires. And with the new tires like the G-Max AS05, the selection has never been better. Find your next set of tires at GeneralTire.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease, and she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags. And of course, that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. We're on the phone with Victor. We're talking about a combustion chamber that I designed via the piston in a drag racing engine. This was a hemispherical combustion chamber, so I did not design the upper half of the chamber. But the bottom half, of course, is the rest of the story and the rest of the chamber. So Victor, here's what I did. I wanted to increase the compression ratio, so I filled the chamber with as much piston as possible, understanding that I had to also create a void on the inside and the outside of the piston for the intake valve and the exhaust valve to be cleared, otherwise the valves would bend. And in a racing engine, that's always a critical a critical clearance there. You've got to have 60 thousandths clearance, or you're threatening to bend a valve, and if that happens, it destroys the engine because you're turning so many RPM. So, in doing that, what I did was I rounded out the top of the piston adjacent so that it filled the chamber, and I wanted to get this quench area. I wanted to get and that's torque. I wanted to get the piston as close to the top of the head as possible. In fact, I ended up with about 40 thousandths clearance, or 50 thousandths, as I remember. It's been in the 70s when I designed this. And the way that I checked clearance was I bolted the head onto the block with the head gasket in place, and then I took the piston and the crank and bolted it in place, and then I put a dial indicator through the spark plug hole and put the piston at top dead center. So you with me so far?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Okay.
But, did you have a company rebuild the piston and did you do this yourself?
No, I had a company in California to make the piston to my design.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And so what you do? You put the piston top dead center, and and looking at the dial indicator, and you zero the dial indicator. Then you disconnect the rod bolts and push the piston all the way up until it hits the head, and that tells you the clearance that you've got vertically in the chamber. And here's the trick: because and a regular piston that's a wedge, which means that the chamber is flat, the head is flat and not spherical, you can use clay. And we do that. You put clay on the piston, and you run the engine, you turn it by hand, run it through its revolution, through 2 revolutions. You take the head back apart, and then you measure the depth of the clay, and you see the imprint in the clay, just like when somebody's making teeth, they that's what they do. Well, we do that in fabricating and what's called blueprinting a racing engine. Here's the challenge. If you use clay to check the piston clearance versus the vertical movement, it is incorrect. And by that, you can have 35 thousandths clearance, but you have to have on a spherical or angular tangent, but you have to have 50 thousandths to 60 thousandths in order to have that 30 thousandths clearance. Now, there's no way that you could possibly understand what I'm saying here. I'd have to show you. Now, having said all this, when I put the piston and made the piston top to fill in the chamber, what I did not want to do is to slow down the flow of air. So what I did was I got the piston manufacturer to make the piston fit the chamber, but between the intake and the exhaust valve recess, I drug a football field. So imagine you've got a dome of a piston that's a perfect dome. Now imagine that you cut a pocket into it for the intake valve, and you cut a pocket into it for the exhaust valve. Now you've got the dome with two pockets. You with me?
Right, yeah.
Now you connect those two pockets by machining a football field between the two pockets until you machine enough of the aluminum out of the piston that leaves 13:2 compression ratio, and that is depending on the size of the cylinder, maybe in other words, if you've got a 1,000, if you put the piston all the way down and fill the hole and you got 1,000 cc's of fluid, and then you put the piston all the way to the top and you can only put 100 cc's of fluid, you've got 10-to-1 compression ratio. That's a geometrical compression ratio. You got me?
Right.
So I wanted 13-to-1. So I had, if it held 1,000 cc's, it could only hold 80 cc's at the top, or whatever the numbers come out. And in order to hold 80 cc's only, I had to fill in the piston area. Or what I had to do was drag the proper amount of football field between the two pistons. Now what this left me was it left me with two big mountainous domes and a valley through the center. And what that provided was a quench area, and it forced all the fuel that was unburned and all the combustion into the middle of the chamber, and then the plug lights it off, and that's where the power was made. That and a camshaft change, those were the two changes to that engine, and I had built that engine 40 times prior to that with at least 20 different iterations, and we immediately picked up 0.2 of a second, which is astronomical, out of the trailer. It was unbelievable.
Right. Now another thing, you had your center. That's where your fuel and your combustion took place.
Yes.
So probably you got less side drag on your piston. You had a perfect push in the center.
Well, that is true. That is true, except that you know that there's no such thing as a perfect push, because when the crank, that all then comes in the rod stroke ratio. If you got a long throw, then you don't have much of an angle on the rod. The more angle you have on a rod, in other words, if you had a big piston and a short stroke, you'd have a heck of an angle.
I'm sorry. On your side of your piston.
Side, yeah. So it wants to push. So there's a major and a minor thrust on a piston, and so the major and the minor thrust is on the inside on a V8, on the inside on one side of the engine, and it's on the outside on the other side, and that has to do with the rotation of the crank and the angle of the rod itself. Now, in a street engine, they offset the pin. The piston pin is not located in the center of the piston in a street engine, because if it were, it would knock. It would because of this because of the angle when it fires. So what the manufacturer piston slap is what it's called. So and you have to have enough clearance for the piston to go up and down, or it scorches your piston. Now, having said all that, in racing, you don't offset the pin. You put it in the center because you're not worried about noise, and so you for different reasons. So we didn't worry about that, but because we weren't worried about noise. But then I had almost 3,000 piston clearance, as it were, because we would turn this engine 8,000 RPM, which was too much. We turned it 92, which is too much, and that was the fate. That sealed the fate of the engine. That was a burnout in the water at 9,200 RPM with a 500 stroke Hemi. That's 3,300 feet per second is the piston speed, and that's faster than a bullet. And ergo, the engine let go and the rod came loose, and the piston literally broke a piece of the head off of the block.
Yeah, that's a lot. Now, on your racing engines, do you tend to go more to a shorter or longer stroke?
A longer straw, it depends on the engine design and what you're trying to do. What we went to, in this case, I stroked a Hemi engine because you can't bore the block, but so big, so you can increase the stroke. Now, when you do, you have to grind the lower part of the block away because there's so much, you have to have room for the rods to come around. So actually, the bottom of each cylinder has notches ground in it. It's very interesting to do all that stuff, and it's too much to try to talk about because it's way over the head of anyone that's not into that, and it may not be of interest to a lot of our listeners. But what it has done for me, it has created this individual and I'm about as anal as anybody I know about detail. And I have found that without paying attention to detail, you have problems. And you heard me talking about this oil leak, right?
Right.
Well, let me share with you the challenge. So, folks, listen up. If you've got a Ford V6 4-liter oil leak, and that upper pan, there's a lower pan, which is nothing but a little flat pan that's a no-brainer to fix. Then there's the aluminum pan. And Victor and folks, this aluminum pan, this is a car that we had in the shop. We had this car for 3 weeks. The customer paid us to put a pan gasket on it, and it came back and it leaked. So we had to do the job over again. So this time, we did it over again, and it leaked again. So this time we pulled the transmission. Now, this is all on our nickel now. This time we pulled the transmission. That's the way we operate. If what we fix doesn't stay fixed or doesn't work, it's on us to make it right. And so, and this is not all about patting ourselves on the back, but this is the facts. So what we did was Johnny, who is our master ASE certified technician, and yes, it leaked on him. He pulled the transmission. So Victor, I looked at the oil pan. The oil pan is also a girdle for the main bearings of this engine. And so when you pull the oil pan and clean it and you go back together, there's some girdle inserts that are nothing more than sleeves that have bolts that go through them, and after the pan is in place, then you bolt this girdle onto the main bearing caps. The main bearing cap bolts have female heads. They're hexagon, but they have female heads. So once you bolt the pan in place, then you have to screw the insert up to 2.5 foot-pounds. Which is not very much, but this insert goes up. Now you have to back those inserts off, or else they would hold the pan off, and so you wouldn't get the right torque on the pan gasket. But here was the issue. And here's what we did to solve it. And you got to have the right stuff. And actually we used, and Permatex makes a long-lasting elastomer formed in place rubber gasket. And we use it, and it's called the right stuff. And the combination of attention to detail and the proper assembly and cleaning and Permatex's right stuff, and we fixed that oil leak. And here was the real issue. There are two 3/8 of an inch rubber little teats, I would call them. They're the tips of the rear main seal where the pan comes up to the bottom of the block. You cannot see those rubber seals, and the rear main rubber pan seal is shorter than the rear main itself. The pan collapses the rubber pan gasket, and in doing so, it forces the little rubber teats into the pockets of the rear main area that have to be cleaned out. So you got to pull the rear main cap and clean all this out. Then you got to seal the rear main cap. So we did all that. And then as Johnny put the cap and the pan back in place, he put the cap in place and put the pan back in place, I watched, and we used the right stuff Permatex on the pan, and this is supposed to be a dry, you put it together without any sealer except in 4 places, and we used the Permatex sealer over a thin film over all sides of the gasket. And then I watched these little rubber leads go into their pockets. And sure enough, as we were coming up with the pan, one side, the rubber had folded down because it got hung, because it's just a little piece of rubber of the pan seal. And I took a little screwdriver and flipped it into place. We were still short and we had to just hope that the pan being forced up by the torque would push the rear main rubber seal far enough out and up into that it would seal the leak. And so it was a very sophisticated, arduous, specific task to do that, and that fixed it. Now at the same time, and here's the rest of the story. I'll tell it because it's worth telling. Johnny said, let's put a rear main seal in. I said, the rear main seal is not leaking. It was your pan gasket that's leaking, and I think we got that fixed. Yeah, let's put a seal in it. So we ordered a factory seal for this car. And if you're in the repair business out there and you're going to replace a rear main seal on a Ford V6, there are two different bakes of seals. One is and Ford only offers one of them. And the one that Ford offers is not the one that should be used unless you have the proper $450 tool to press in the steel crankshaft saver. Now, I've just given you a whole bunch of talk about a job that we did, and we're going to be posting pictures of this job, but I will tell you this. If you've got a Ford Explorer or other Fords that have the V6 engine in it, you better make sure that whoever replaces the seal for the pan gasket also replaces the rear main seal with the right one, and they better have done that job before or they will not be successful in doing that job. And to make it even more sophisticated, the transmission bolts to the oil pan, and according to the book, before you get the oil pan in place, you must tighten the transmission, and that precludes you from properly installing the pan. It is a bag of worms. Folks, Victor, thank you so much for tuning in. Next week, it's just a little less technical. I'm Bobby Likis. Likis, you'll love us. Thanks for tuning in.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
You're moving fast, and you don't want anything to slow you down, especially an unreliable battery. The next time your car needs a new battery, choose one with power frame grid technology inside. It's engineered with confidence to be 66% more durable than other grid designs and provide you with true strength every time you need it. Look for power frame on the outside for true strength on the inside. Visit Advanced Auto Parts or CarQuest for a battery with power frame grid technology, or learn more at powerframe.com. That's powerframe.com. Berryman's B12 Chem Tool features HEST, or High Energy Solvent Technology. Helps maximize one-tank cleanup of intake valves, fuel injectors, and combustion chambers. But don't take our word for it. Gary's Mercury Sable was just running awful and throwing trouble codes. A local technician said it might cost as much as $600. So first, Gary tried Berryman B12 Chem Tool Fuel Additive, and now it runs like new with no trouble codes. Learn more about Berryman products and their HEST technology at berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
P. Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, loaded, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma